These are devotions for people at a social distance. This morning in my devotions, I was reading, coming back once again, and it often comes around Pentecost, the story of the Tower of Babel. And the story of how, at the beginning of history, the way the Bible tells it, all of the people of the earth came together. And I pick up the story at verse 5 in chapter 11. The Lord came down to see the city and the tower which mortals had built. And the Lord said, Look, they are one people, and they all have one language, and this is only the beginning of what they will do. Nothing that they propose to do will now be impossible for them. And I just want to stop there for a minute and just think about the importance and the meaning of that statement. Now, like many passages in the Bible, especially in books like Genesis, if you push too hard on the literal meaning of this text, it kind of falls apart. There are all kinds of issues with reading it in certain ways. But if you read it, I think, in the way that it is intended, it is talking about what it means to be human and what it means, what our potential is, and what our drawbacks are, right? And so this is a stunning statement. The Lord said, God says, look, they are one people. They all have one language. This is only the beginning of what they will do. Nothing they propose to do will now be impossible to them. What an incredible statement about humanity, that we are one, that we are all one people, and if only we work together, just think of the amazing things that we can do, right? If only. Now, the problem is we don't necessarily see ourselves as one people. We see ourselves as various people, various races, and various nationalities. And one thing this passage is saying is this: those things are not real. And that is not only biblically true, that is scientifically true. Things like race do not actually exist. There are no racial differences that matter in the least. If you look on the level of genetics, there different races are all the same species. We are all the same. We are all one people. It's not about being different, and differences in terms of tribes and nations, they are based on nothing. They are not based on reality. And if only we could put all of that aside, if only, just think what we could accomplish. But, of course, God goes down. Come, let us go down and confuse their language there so they do not understand one another. And so that unity is taken apart not only by linguistic differences, but by our perception of racial difference, our perception of national differences, that we are therefore not one people. Because, as I say, race doesn't actually exist. Race is based on nothing. But racism definitely exists, and it is there to prevent us from living up to our potential. So I am simply struck by the basic truth here that we are all one people. And if only we could embrace that, just think what we could accomplish. Now, of course, you sort of have to get into, well, but God doesn't seem to like that, and God seems to want to limit our potentialities. And that's a big discussion with the whole biblical text at this point. And maybe that's something we can get on into another day. But the basic truth is still the same. The basic truth at the foundation is we are all one people. And if only we could put aside our perception of race, our perception of nationality, our perception of difference, what could we not accomplish? There's some deep truth there, folks. Lord our God, what a need there is. What a need we have seen, in the last little while, of the whole world coming aside and putting aside differences and our perception of differences to just come together. And what could we not accomplish? And yet we see prejudices and racial perception and nationalism getting in the way. What couldn't we do? Lord, by your grace, let us put these things aside and let the nations of the world come together. Amen.